This 2025 Volkswagen Taos is proof that when a new model comes out, it's probably wise to skip the first couple of years because this 2025 version is more powerful and more refined to drive. But newer doesn't necessarily mean better, because there's one feature inside that you might find annoying. Now let's kick off this review with the exterior first. The Volkswagen Taos did receive a refresh for the 2025 model year, so now it reflects the new Volkswagen design language. It looks like the baby version of the Tiguan. The previous one had a larger grille, there's more chrome involved. For this 2025 model year, you could see a more sporty version of the Taos. There's a larger painted section stretching across the front. The headlight section does look a little bit smaller, but you have LED lights here, you have the integrated LED light bar, and these also have the adaptive front lighting system with dynamic cornering lights. From the side, it's a little bit harder to distinguish the older Taos versus the new Taos. This is the SEL 4Motion version, so you get the 19-inch wheels. You'll also find the roof rails and some chrome trim as well along the belt line. And then at the rear end, it gets the new taillight design. Just like other modern cars, they like to merge the left and right sides with this single continuous LED taillight. This is the way it's done in the Tiguan, so you might as well do it here in the Taos as well. And one design trend that should definitely go away are these fake dual exhaust look. I don't know why Volkswagen still do this, but this looks extremely tacky. Otherwise, I think this is a pretty nice facelift. It looks more modern. The paint on this one is called Monument Gray Metallic. So let me know what you think of the fresh design outside, and let's climb inside. This version that I'm testing is the SEL 4Motion. So this is as expensive as it gets for the Volkswagen Taos. It's somewhere around $36,000 to $37,000 after delivery, but before taxes. And the interior is called Night Blue Leather Interior. So this leather feels pretty nice. I like the white stitching on there and also the white piping across the front seat. And you could see the same design across the door cards here and also on the front dash. So this dark blue is a nice contrast compared to the black, the piano black here, which is, I don't know why they still use piano black. Volkswagen likes to do that, and some of the shiny gray pieces as well. As for the technology, you still get the same 8-inch touchscreen that you could find in the older Taos, but the bezel has been refreshed here, so it looks more like a tablet design, whereas the previous one looks more integrated into the dash. Now, all of the Volkswagen Taos or Taoses, they come with the Volkswagen digital cockpit. But if you get the S version, you get the smaller 8-inch screen, whereas all the other ones get this larger 10.3-inch screen. Better screen real estate, looks a little bit nicer, looks a little bit more modern. And as for the steering wheel, they've maintained all of the physical buttons. I think Volkswagen learned their lesson from the Volkswagen GTI and the Golf R. Not a lot of people like the touch haptic buttons, so these are a lot easier to control. And as you graze your fingers across it, you just know what you're pressing. You don't even have to look. And then over on the left-hand side, the headlight controls are still physical. The one big change here are all the climate controls. So all of this is now a touch button panel. They've removed the physical controls from the previous Volkswagen Taos, and it's all just touch buttons now. And here's where newer doesn't necessarily mean better. But let me just ask you guys, do you prefer the physical controls or the touch button features? And here you can see that this still comes with heated seats and ventilated seats as well, because this is the higher end trim. So I'm curious how you guys feel about this, because this is really the only big change inside the new Volkswagen Taos. Other than that, down below you've got a couple of USB-C ports and then also a wireless charger which reliably charges your phone. And then up top you have a couple of buttons here. You have your curtain controls for this large sunroof. I think that's a pretty nice feature because these controls are sometimes integrated with the sunroof open function. So I like that Volkswagen has separated these two, because many times I just want to open up the curtain and I end up opening the sunroof as well. So that's a plus. But the downside here is that there's no storage compartment for your sunglasses. And then in the center console, none of this has really changed cosmetically speaking. You have your dual cup holders here. You have your drive mode dial, your start stop button. And actually, this has a pretty big change if you have the all-wheel drive model. More on this in the driving experience section. And then you have a relatively small armrest with not a lot of storage underneath. Now, as for the second row, even though this is Volkswagen's smallest crossover, you still get a pretty decent 37.9 inches of rear legroom. Now, the Tiguan has a little bit more space, obviously, because that's the larger car, but I like how this small crossover still has vents in the center console, and there's also a USB-C port for your charging needs. And I like how right behind the armrest, you have this latch here, and you can access right behind the second row. Now, as for the cargo space, the hatch is completely manual, which is nice and refreshing in my opinion. And right behind the second row, you get 24.9 cubic feet of space for the all-wheel drive model. To release the second row, you can sort of achieve that from back here. It might be a little bit tough to do. And once you lower it down, you get up to 60.2 cubic feet of space with the second row folded down. So that's actually slightly more space than the Tiguan, which is very strange. Now, when it comes to the driving experience, let's first start with the powertrain first, because this is still powered by the same 1.5 liter 4-cylinder turbo engine, but it's got some new engine components. So it's making 174 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. It's a nice bump. It's about 10%, so you are going to feel the difference. You're still not going to win any races, but this is going to feel nicer when you're just trying to get on the highway or just make that last-minute pass. The big improvement is for the all-wheel drive model, because the previous one came with a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. Now, if you've driven dual clutches before, then you know that vehicles with dual clutch transmissions have certain tendencies. Like in slow speed situations, it can sometimes feel pretty jerky. And for the case of the Volkswagen Taos, it was pretty bad. There were a lot of complaints. People thought that their car was basically braking because the driving experience was just not smooth in day-to-day slow driving speed situations. So they've improved that by getting rid of it. They've instead put the 8-speed automatic transmission that you could find in the front-wheel drive version in the all-wheel drive version. So the driving experience is now much more smooth. It's going to feel like traditional modern cars. It still shifts pretty fast, but you no longer feel that jerky motion and uncomfortable driving experience of the dual clutches. It still returns pretty decent mileage, 25 in the city, 33 in the highway, and 28 miles per gallon combined. And as for the ride quality and the handling, this is such a fun car to drive in back roads. I love the great road and steering feel. I love its small, short wheelbase nature of this car. It has a lightness feeling to it, like it feels very light on its toes. The Tiguan was pretty nice to drive as well, but the Taos just feels a little bit more fun, even though it's down on power. So I think the Volkswagen Taos is a pretty nice car. Compared to the 2025 model year to the 2022 model year, you can see that there's some leaps and bounds in improvement in this car. It just feels more fun to drive. It feels a little bit more powerful, and the transmission is so much better if you get the all-wheel drive version. The little interior design changes, is that really for the better? I don't think so. I think that's just more cost cutting, because those touch panels, as opposed to the physical dials, they are a lot cheaper to manufacture because there's a lot fewer moving parts. So I could see why Volkswagen wants to move in that direction. But at least some of the more important controls, they're still physical controls. And just like most things, the price did go up as well. This one is the SEL 4Motion, and it tops out at $36,575 before taxes. So this is as expensive as it should get for the Volkswagen Taos. But I'm curious to hear about what you guys think about this new Volkswagen Taos. Let me know in the comments below. I want to thank you guys so much for watching all the way up to this point. My name is Hanson, and that's the 2025 Volkswagen Taos, and I'll see you in the next one.